Mama's name was Bromden, still is Bromden. Papa said he was born with only one name, born smack into it, the way a calf drops out in the spread blanket when the cow insists on standing up. Tia Milituna, the pine that stands tallest on the mountain. And I am the biggest, by God, Injun in the state of Oregon and probably California and Idaho. Born right into it. You're the biggest, by God, fool if you think that a good Christian woman takes on a name like Tia Milituna. You were born into a name, so okay, I'm born into a name. Bromden. Mary Louise Bromden. And when we move into town, Papa says that name makes getting that social security card a lot easier. Guy after somebody with a riveter hammer, get him too if he keeps at it. I see those lightning flashes again, colors striking. These lightning flashes are what he sees from the electroshock therapy. And I put a little bit of kind of the page before this quote that's highlighted because I wanted to give a little bit of context. And starts with Chief getting the electroshock therapy. It says here, the clamps bite my wrists and ankles. The graphite salve has his iron fillings in it, temple scratching. He said something, then winked, told me something. Man bends over, brings 2 irons toward the ring on my head. The machine hunches on me. Air raid. Hit a loop, running already down the slope. Can't get back, can't go ahead. Look down the barrel, and you dead, dead, dead. And then it's just him, from this point on, having these flashbacks about his family and them having to leave and them changing their name and stuff like that. But what's interesting is that his grandma says this quote in a game that they played a lot. And it's ting, tingle, tingle. Wait. Ting, tingle, tingle. Tremble toes. She's a good fisherman. Catches hens, puts 'em in a pens. Wire, blyer, limberlock, 3 geese in a flock. One flew east, one flew west, one flew over the cuckoo's nest. O-U-T spells out, goose swoops down and plucks you out. My old grandma chanted this, a game we played by the hours, sitting by the fish rack scaring flies. A game called Tingle, Tingle, Tangle Toes, counting each finger on my 2 outspread hands, one finger to a syllable as she chants. Tingle, tingly, tangly toes. She's a good fisherman, catches hens. I like the game and I like Grandma. I don't like Miss Tingle Tangle Toes catching hens. I don't like her. I do like the goose flying over the cuckoo's nest. I like him and I like Grandma. Next time I saw her, she was stone cold dead right in the middle of the Dales on the sidewalk. So, this quote relates to the 3 main characters in the book being Chief, McMurphy, and Ratched. Because the fisherman catches hens, puts them in a pens. That would be Nurse Ratched putting these patients in this ward. And this is the title of the book, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. O-U-T spells out, goose swoops down and plucks you out. The goose would be McMurphy pulling Chief out of the whole pen and plucked him out. And he says, I don't like Miss Tingle Tangle Toes. I do like that goose flying over the cuckoo's nest. So that's how you know that this is Nurse Ratched and this is McMurphy. For archetypal character development, Casey adds Bromden's grandmother for his flashback. She represents Nurse Ratched because she doesn't represent Nurse Ratched. In this old game, nursery rhyme, the fisherman represents Nurse Ratched because catches them and puts them in pens, plucks them and prods them to do whatever she wants or deems correct. The flashbacks, in general, in the whole entire novel, There's a few of them, and it's a representation of the past situation that the patients were in, Chief in this case, and shows how much shock therapy is cruel and mind-bending and just makes you totally relive past traumas. But Chief is an innocent eye narrator throughout the novel because he witnesses abuse and cruelty, mostly for McMurphy, but also the other patients a lot as well. And it's all because of Nurse Ratched being the fisherman here. And he loses his innocence whenever he puts McMurphy to rest, but he did it in a way because he didn't want him to suffer there as a vegetable so that Nurse Ratched would win. Because he did not want McMurphy to feel like she has won the dominance. And there's other connections in this book about them being in the cuckoo's nest and them being chickens or stuff like that. And I have here, this relates back to when she puts the hens in the pens. This relates back to page 58 when McMurphy described the group meetings as a pecking party. She deliberately sets them against one another, rewarding this behavior. And also, in the beginning of the book, McMurphy describes himself as the bull goose loony, so it all has connections in this whole entire novel, which is really interesting and really keeps you on your toes, and it's really good.